one story I really wanted to talk about was this 12-year-old named Liam in Massachusetts who went to school with a shirt that said there are only two genders, and I guess he kind of got in trouble. So we're going to start out with the video of him talking. And the real reason I don't really like showing kids too much on this because, I think kids should be left alone. So, but there was a woman who spoke a week later, and she was very eloquent, very well spoken, and I think she hits the nail on the head. So I really want to get to that. But let's start off with what Liam said.
I never thought that the shirt I wore to school on March 21st would lead me to speak with you today. On that Tuesday morning, I was taken out of gym class to sit down with two adults for what turned out to be a very uncomfortable talk. I was told that people were complaining about the words on my shirt, that my shirt was making some students feel unsafe. Yes, words on a shirt made people feel unsafe. They told me that I wasn't in trouble, but it sure felt like I was. I was told that I would need to remove my shirt before I could return to class. When I nicely told them that I didn't want to do that, they called my father. Thankfully, my dad supported my decisions and came to pick me up. What did my shirt say? 5 simple words. There are only two genders. Nothing harmful, nothing threatening, just a statement I believe to be a fact. I have been told that my shirt was targeting a protected class. Who is this protected class? Are their feelings more important than my rights? I don't complain when I see pride flags and diversity posters hung throughout the school. Do you know why? Because others have a right to their beliefs just as I do. Not one person, staff, or student told me that they were bothered by what I was wearing. Actually, just the opposite. Several kids told me that they supported my actions and that they wanted one too. I was told that the shirt was a disruption to learning. No one got up and stormed out of class. No one burst into tears. I'm sure I would have noticed if they had. I experience disruptions to my learning every day. Kids acting out in class are a disruption, yet nothing is done. Why do the rules apply to one yet not another? I feel like these adults were telling me that it wasn't okay for me to have an opposing view. Their arguments were weak, in my opinion. I didn't go to school that day to hurt feelings or cause trouble. I have learned a lot from this experience. I learned that a lot of other students share my view. I learned that adults don't always do the right thing or make the right decisions. I know that I have a right to wear a shirt with those 5 words. Even at 12 years old, I have my own political opinions, and I have a right to express those opinions. Even at school, this right is called the First Amendment to the Constitution. My hope in being here tonight is to bring the school committee's attention to this issue. I hope that you will speak up for the rest of us so we can express ourselves without being pulled out of class. Next time, it may not only be me. There might be more students that decide to speak out. Thank you for your time and good night.
Thank you.
All right, so that was very well spoken. And again, we can always debate whether the parents helped him, whether he wrote it. He was 12 years old. But here's one of the issues I have. One of the issues I have is that we as parents now have to send our kids to school on both sides, on all sides, on all these issues, and kind of have our kids be the fighters for us. Like, hey, you have to go to school, and we have this set of beliefs, and we want you to go to the school and try to not be a bad person, right? Obviously, you don't ever want your kid to be a bad person, but also try not to be corrupted by other people's beliefs that you don't want them to be corrupted with. And I think there's all these different sides, there's all these different things going on in the schools, and these kids are, all of them are fighting these unwinnable wars. And the biggest reason is because parents aren't doing what they're supposed to do. They're not pushing back. They're not demanding accountability from their schools. They're not demanding accountability from the school committees. They're not sitting there and like, listen, I shouldn't have to go to, my kid shouldn't have to go to school and have to deal with all these social problems that we're not even fixed in the real world. Like the school should be a safe space where those kids just go, let them do what they want, let them figure it out, let them make their friends, and we're not going to pick those friends for them. They're going to have to learn all that themselves just like we do. But you know what we do? We sit there and we move the pieces. We push these pieces. We say, you people have to do this, and you people have to do this, and you. and we're screwing up kids. We're screwing up kids on so many levels too, because what we're saying also is you have to accept this and you have to accept that, but you don't have to accept this and you don't have to accept that, and everything's equal, but everything's not equal. And hey, listen, for 1 month we celebrate these people, but we never celebrate you. And if you're going and you're like, well, I don't want to celebrate those people, they can do what they want, I don't care. Well, now there's something wrong with you. Why aren't you doing this or whatever? So I really think we're setting up our kids and we're confusing our kids. And we're doing it because, I don't know, because we're scared, because we're lazy, because we don't understand what we're doing to kids. But when they go to school, these kids are fighting. I had a friend of mine who sent his kids to private school. I guess he was one of the lucky ones, right? Like maybe Manchester, New Hampshire would like him. And he's like, the reason is because of this, Justin. In public school, they were surviving. In private school, they were thriving. And it's simple. Because in the private school, they're like, we don't care about the BS. We're just here to teach you. You figure it out. But in public school, they're trying to find all this equity and equality. And when you start pushing those levers, you start tilting things, then it tilts, and you're constantly going this, and that creates disruptions, and kids are trying to figure things out. And as parents, we're like, oh, this, oh, that, and teachers, it's just way too much for them, and their brains are developing. They shouldn't have to worry about this. And again, if the parents want to figure things out, let's figure things out. If we want to talk, let's talk. If you have an issue with something, let's come and talk to me. Let's go hash it out with the school committee. Let's hash it out with the principal. But don't make your kids be the people that have to fight the wars because we're too chicken crap to do it ourselves.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, we see it all over the place, the culture wars that are being fought. And it's sad that it's moving down into the schools at this point too, because what it does is it creates this like us versus them mentality.
Yes.
Right from the beginning, where it's like, when I was in school, none of this stuff was being played out in the school system. So like I had friends that I grew up with that I still talk to. And now that some of these things are becoming more, part of the culture battle, like I have friends that have different views, that some support it, some don't. But it's like, hey, we were friends first before a lot of these things came about. Where what this is doing now in the school system is it's creating that us versus them mentality right from the beginning. So that kid's never going to be friends with someone that thinks differently than him on one of those issues. And that's kind of how it's been designed. And actually, in one of the school committee candidates brought up a really good point. He goes, in the school system, the schools are creating all these different groups and all these different segments of kids. It's like, okay, these kids are part of a minority, or they're like part of a certain class of people. And it's like they're dividing kids into all these groups to promote inclusion, let them know they have like a safe group. But nobody's going around to all the groups and saying, hey, how are we going to bring these kids back together again? Like, what are we going to do to make sure that these kids are like socializing with each other? I mean, again, they should be like, you want kids to be friends, and this culture war going into the schools is just dividing people even more from at an even earlier age.
Remember years ago there was the video of the little white kid and a little black kid, and they're just running towards each other. They're like little babies, and they're giving each other a hug, and then they're hop, skipping, and jumping away and stuff. And again, to me, that's what it is. Like, kids don't care. Like, they just love their friends. I love my friend. He's great. And then what happens? You get into a school that's like, well, they've done this to your ancestors, or, oh, if they don't accept everything about you, they're not really your friends. And that's not true. That's not true. That's a lie. We got to stop that lie.
Right.
I have a lot of friends. I don't like everything about them. Trust me, there's a lot of people that don't like a lot of things about me, but we're friends because as humans, we have value. We all have value, and our job is to find the value in other people. And our job is also to say, hey, listen, there are certain people I don't find enough value in. I just don't spend time with them, but they're still people. And we take that opportunity away from these kids, and it's infuriating. And it's infuriating because there's a lot of parents that promote this crap, and there's a lot more people that are too afraid to go fight for their kids, because if I go in front of the school committee, people are gonna think I'm something. No, who cares? Your kid's fighting it every day.
I think
You know,
it's
I'm
at
not.
the point where you can't ignore it anymore. Like you said, it's like you have to get involved. You have to push back at some level.
And the pushback is it's simple. There's gonna be a lot of people like, oh, Justin, that's just because you want this. No. You know what I want? I want my kids to go to school. I want my kids to get a good education, and I want my kids to figure it out. I want my kids to look at kids and make friendships based on the content of that person's character, instead of all these other superfluous little things, that all these little metrics we have to sit there and check. Oh, do they do this? Do they do this? Are they this? Are they that? No. Is the kid a good kid? Is my friend making? Is my son making friends with a child because they're a good kid? Right? Maybe the kid starts out good and then he starts changing, and my kid has to learn that. Like they have to learn. And what's happening is, like I said, you have teachers, parents, administration pushing the levers, and as you said, they're using the culture war in the school to divide us even more. And the politicians love this, because the politicians love that we're divided, because then what happens? You're my voter.
You're fighting each other as opposed to fighting them, really.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
instead of people getting involved as registrar and all this other stuff. I mean, look how much time people spend on Facebook and all this other stuff, going back and forth at each other. And then meanwhile, these towns in the state are getting away with all this stuff, and nobody's even batting an eye, because we're all attacking each other and not pointing the energy at them.
Well, there was like I said, there was a mother who went to support this young man. A week later, I saw the video. Like I said, I'm going to play it and for people to listen. I thought it was very well said, very well spoken. So let's see what she had to say.
I'm here to stand with Liam tonight because I feel that the Middleborough School and the community and their actions are failing them. He is being made an example and marginalized for his beliefs. He is told that his shirt that states his belief that there are only two genders is a disruption and violates the dress code that implies hate speech towards a protected class. This is a manipulation of the words on his shirt, and imply has no place in the dress code, nor should hate speech only apply to those in a protected class. Hate speech is hate speech, and it applies to everybody. You created rules that only apply to certain children while exempting others from being held to the same standard. As I've said before, creating policy that establishes two sets of rules is segregation. If you allow shirts that state a belief that there are many genders, then you must allow a shirt that states there are two genders. Neither indicates hate towards another group unless you twist it by implying or inferring something to further your agenda. Both statements are a statement of belief, of which conflicting can peacefully coexist. His First Amendment rights do not end at the school door, and his 14th Amendment rights afford him equal protection under the law. Recognizing and honoring diversity is not demanding that one group's beliefs win over the others. It recognizes that our differences can be celebrated and peacefully coexist. One group should not be allowed to be loud and proud about their belief, while the other group remains silent. Nothing on his shirt was vulgar, threatening, or profane. He did not act in a way that was threatening. If people felt unsafe, it was not because of Liam's words or actions, but an incorrect inference. Children and adults need help understanding the difference between an actual threat that makes them unsafe and feeling offended that someone else dare challenge their belief. Does the cross around my neck apply hate to non-Christians who do not believe that Jesus is the Son of God? Does it make people who are Jewish feel unsafe? Who implies that? It's not me. I don't have hate in my heart, and I don't believe that it's okay for you to imply that this little boy has hate in his heart for anybody else. Superintendent Lyons, there are actual threats going on that are being ignored, disruptions in learning that are left unchecked. You are so busy taking action against a 12-year-old boy for words on his shirt that you have turned a blind eye to actual bullying, harassment, and sexual harassment that is occurring across this district. No effective disciplinary response has happened to prevent ongoing safety concerns from aggressors. The overarching message I keep hearing from this community is that you are concerned about the mental health and safety of children, but this is often in lockstep with the references to groups of one protected class. All children are at risk of bullying and harassment. All children are at risk of mental health struggles. All children are at risk for suicide and suicide ideation. And I have news for you. This is not a unique issue for the LGBTQ community. All parents have primary concerns about safety for their children.
Thank you.
Amen. Amen. Right? Like, again, there's something I don't agree with, like the hate speech thing, because again, we've discussed in prior episodes about how there's really no such thing as hate speech. There's speech you might hate, but there's no such thing as hate speech. But again, she hits the nail on the head. If there shouldn't be a protected class, like when you start saying, "Hey, listen, this cross means that these people hate you," or this shirt means no, you're making that assumption. That's not reality. And again, I don't know if they understand they're doing that. I believe some people understand they're doing it. I believe the people that make these policies outside of the school committees, outside the school districts, at really high levels of government, that want to keep us separated, they know that they're doing this. I think we have to be smart enough to understand that they're using schools and our children to divide us. And what we have to do is sit together and say, listen, we need to peacefully coexist. What does that look like? And I think what's happened is, and I could be wrong, right? And this could be a broad generalization, but I think most conservatives over the year, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, Jim, most conservatives would sit there and be like, listen, I just want to be free to do what I want to do. And I want to be left alone and just leave me and my family alone. And that's freedom. That's what the American dream's about. I just want to be free to go pursue my dreams. I want to be free to live the life I want to live. But ever increasingly, there's encroachments on that. And ever increasingly, there's people saying, well, you can be free to do that, but you also have to believe what we believe and participate what we participate in. And when people push back against that, say, no, that's not how it works. Like, listen, dude, I don't care if you do this or do that. And they're like, well, you have to care and you have to celebrate it. No, I don't. And then what they do is they take that as an affront and we have to stop this and you're an evil person. And the worst part is then you get the government involved and the government sits there and like, yeah, we'll get involved because that gives us more power. And then what we can do is we can divide you and say, ooh, this person don't like you. I do. So vote for me. And they get away with doing whatever the hell they want because we're too stupid or we're not adult enough to sit back and have hard discussions. I don't even think they're hard discussions, but for some people, they're hard discussions, right? Because I'm religious and you're not religious. So what? Do you want to do what you want to do? Yes, do it. I don't have to participate. I don't have to sit there and call you certain things. I don't have to go to certain events. And you know what? I will reciprocate that to you. You don't have to participate in what I believe. However, if you want to have a discussion, I'm more than willing to have a discussion. That's how we learn. That's how we grow.
The point about the cross is so great. I think because it's like these norms have existed for religions since the beginning of time. And now all of a sudden gender is becoming the topic of the day. And all of a sudden it's like we're trying to twist things into meaning things that they don't mean. But yeah, all I have to say is I hope both those folks, both the kid and the girl, the lady there, start stacking gold and silver because they're going to be first on the social credit score list. So
I know, right? Use cash.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the religious thing, and I guess being a religious person most of my life, growing up in religion, and then going to school and going to private schools, then go to other, and not a lot of people agreed because obviously there's different religions and there's Protestant, there's Catholic, there's Mormon, there's Jehovah's Witnesses, there's all these different types. And even within my family we had people that believed different religious things, and what you did, you just respected them as being different, and you said, okay, they believe something different, so what? And I never minded having those conversations with those people. Like, hey, why is it different? Why do you believe this? This is why I believe that. I didn't mind that. But I didn't go around and tell people, listen, Jesus Christ is the Lord and Savior, and he's coming to save you. So you have to believe this. And if you don't believe this, you're going to hell. So you really have to believe this. and I'm going to force this on you. No, because I understand that that's not what we do in America. I'm allowed to believe what I believe. You're allowed to believe what you're allowed to believe. Here's my problem. When you start using government and when you start using education, when you start using all these different levers to force belief and force compliance, we have lost the plot. We have lost the plot of what America is supposed to be. And again, as I was talking about before about conservatives, we just wanted to be left alone. Well, I'm going to tell you what, everyone out there that's conservative, everyone who watched that show, you're not going to be able to be left alone. We're not. We're actually in a battle now. Our kids are in a battle. We have to fight for them. We're in a battle because these people are serious and they want to push this. And until we stand up and say no more, they're going to keep going until level heads say enough. You're right. We're going to do what we do. You do what you do. And you know what? We'll have spaces where we can all just meet and do things together. And you don't have to agree with what I do. I don't have to agree with what you do. As long as we're adults, who cares? Let's leave the freaking kids alone. Until we get to that point, we're in a fight. I don't know what to tell you. We're in a fight. And we better start pushing back because we're losing. When we're allowing schools to hide things from us that our kids are doing, we're losing. When we allow our kids to go to school and they're told they're horrible people, even though they're being nice people, just because they're like, well, you do you. I'm just going to do me and I don't want to participate. And you're a horrible person now. Kind of craziness is that. So that's why I'm in the fight. And a lot of people, we talk about this all the time, Jim. A lot of people like, oh, the world's tough. The world sucks. I don't know what I can do. Well, I can tell you what you can do. Go to school committee meetings. Your kid's going to school for 7 hours a day, 6-7 hours a day, having to deal with this crap. And you can't take 2 hours a month to go to a school committee meeting and sit there and hold them to account. You can't go to a board of selectmen meeting and hold those people to account. I mean, people ask, well, what can I do? I'm really not that important. Yes, you are important. You can show up. You can do something. If everyone starts doing something instead of feeling like they can't do nothing, you know what? Things are going to start to change. But until that happens, we can't sit there and we can sit there because that's what people are doing. But if you sit there like, oh, the world's going to crap and it's our fault.
Yeah. And from my experience too, it's very intimidating and it's designed to be intimidating on the outside. But once you start getting involved and start asking questions, it's like a paper tiger. It's like things start falling apart. It's like all the everything starts to crumble. It's like when you start pushing back, I like this, it's like I say, it's like when we fight, we win. And that's exactly it, because a lot of these government institutions, they're just like paper tigers. It's just they exist because no one's ever questioned them and no one's ever pushed back on them. And then they just get bigger and bigger. But the second you start getting people involved, people pushing back that actually care, that want to move things in the right direction, then all of a sudden, all the truth comes out, and it's so easy to change the direction of a lot of these things once you get some good people involved.
I 100% agree, because a couple of the RTCs I work with, Dayton and Swansea, that's what they're doing. They're saying, listen, just showing up makes them afraid and makes them scared, because most towns, most school committees, most board of selectmen, there is no one there holding them to account. When a person shows up, when 3 people show up, now they're like, oh man, now people are watching us. So when they start getting questions asked them, they're like, oh man. And that's what we need to do. Just showing up. You don't even have to ask a question. Just show up.
Yeah.
And then if you know what, if there's something that's really good, you can ask a question, be like, why is this going on? Oh my gosh, like you said, and they don't want to be held to account. And then you know what happens is the bad ones that are in it for the wrong reason, when they start getting that pressure, when you start holding them to account, you know what happens? It's time to be reelected. I'm not pulling papers. I'm not getting involved in this. This is too much work. It was easier. It was easier when the state was telling me what to do, but now that the people who elected me are telling me what to do, this sucks. So I'm out. And that's what we need to do. Like I said, you're telling people you need to go out and do something, right? A lot of people are like, Justin, that's real tough. But again, how can you sit there and complain about things and never try to fix it? I mean, maybe I'm a different cat. Maybe you're a different person too. That when we see things, we're like, that's not right, and we get involved. And we understand there's a lot of people that don't have that nature in them. But like I said, it doesn't take much. Support a politician, join an RTC, go to school committees, go to board of selectmen, ask questions, be a pain in the butt, find out what your unique specialty is, right? Something that you can bring and use it. I mean, I'm talking like an hour to a month for some of these things, and your kids are sitting there for 7 hours a day, 5 days a week, getting bombarded with stuff, and we complain, "Oh, it's tough." Well, you know what? Do something.
Which is a good segue into our next segment here, because our guest was a person that was retired and really didn't have any skin in the game, and thought that, hey, maybe there's something I can do here, and
Yes.
ended up getting involved, and it's kind of snowballed from there.